Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. And we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
They are, Robert. This episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count. Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. Yes. And we are honored to have Dr. Zimmerman on again. And we had an awesome show a few months ago, and I'm really excited to have Dr. Zimmerman back on. And I just want to say that she's a co-principal investigator and senior director of policy and programs at the National Native Children's Trauma Center, NNCTC. She's also a former tribal senior policy advisor at the OJJDP, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. Welcome, Doctor. So good to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Thank you for having me back.
Well, let's get into it. We have a lot of issues to talk about here, and we talk a little bit about. We talk a lot about trauma, and we talk a lot about in Indian country how our families have been affected by it, whether it's boarding school, which, I read recently that everybody has been affected by boarding school that's Native American, right, one way or another, and but also the healing. And I think that's what we'd really like to talk about with you is all the great work you're doing with the healing with our children, and just the positive things that are happening, and let's talk a little bit about that today.
Okay.
Well, I have.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I have a quick question. As a co-principal investigator at the National Native Children's Trauma Center, could you share some insights into specific challenges faced by Native American children and families regarding positive childhood experiences and adverse childhood experiences?
Sure. So just a quick reminder about the adverse childhood experiences study that got the conversation going in the late 90s, talking about the impact of adverse experiences on well-being in early childhood, on well-being throughout the lifespan. And so the work that we do is trying to intervene from 0 to 18. And the work that we do is very much about identifying trauma, not because if everything is trauma, then nothing's trauma. So being able to, how do we identify those children and youth and adults who are being impacted by their trauma histories? The other is to be able to identify or understand the impact on child development, on adolescent development, and even into adulthood as we age. The impact on relationships and the ability to, for instance, gain friends or maintain friends, the ability to engage in and sustain a romantic, loving relationship, the impacts of parenting for a parent whose has a trauma history and who is struggling to parent and doesn't know why. So we're looking at those negative impacts, but also it's not a life sentence. We know that we can heal from trauma. And we now know some of the research out there is telling us that healing can come through our cultural ways, through our spirituality, but also the research is beginning to show that positive childhood experiences can truly offset the impacts of adverse childhood experiences. So it's important to really pay attention to that, and it makes it community-wide. We've all heard the saying, "It takes a village to raise a child." Well, all of us can play a role in the healing of our individual family members, our families, and our communities, and that's really the great news. Positive childhood experiences are experiences in childhood that really build a child's sense of belonging or connection, and that's really what trauma does. It really disrupts connection. It disrupts attachment. It disrupts relationships, and that's a big piece of how we build resilience in children. And it's really about building those connections, prioritizing relationships. What does that look like? Fostering a sense of well-being with them, helping them practice taking care of themselves physically and finding a sense of purpose within their families and within their communities. I think that what is interesting in child development is that during adolescence, it's a time when we pull away from our parents, right? And we begin to have our own individual thoughts. We begin to become our own person. Well, in tribal communities or communities that indigenous communities that have a collective way of being, we are pulling away, but we're not just stepping away, but we're stepping into our role, the role that we'll play in our family, the role that we'll play in our communities. And so that it gives us a sense of purpose, and that really builds resilience with our kids. And it helps them find and move towards their goals, and gives them opportunities for some self-discovery.
So I have a question. So how do we get our young ones involved in this? Because if they're young, sometimes the parents are a roadblock because, I know me being 62 years old, my parents didn't believe in certain things, whether it was therapy or medication or anything like that. And I see that still at times. How do we reach, and how do they reach that place where they can get help for their children?
Sure. So just knowing that it may not necessarily have to be a long-term therapeutic method that's used, although that can be very helpful. We like to say at the Trauma Center that relationship is really the evidence-based treatment model for all trauma, healthy, connected relationships. So, for instance, if you think of the early childhood programs in your communities, whether that's Early Head Start or you're funded through ACF to provide 0 to 3, that's identifying those people in the community that can help that 0 to 3-year-old develop in a loving, nurturing, safe environment where they feel not just physically safe, but psychologically safe. And again, as they age Head Start, and then developing those relationships with schools, particularly in high school, where there's a necessary need to feel connected, and helping those adults understand how important they are and how important their roles are in the lives of children 0 to 18. As they get older, helping the youth identify at least 2 people outside of their families that, they feel gives a care about them. That could be a Boy Scout leader. It could be a coach. It could be an English teacher. It could be their uncle, Bernie, or the Aunt Sarah, anybody that, just helps them feel. And then helping them grow as good friends themselves, being able to be good friends to their friends, and being able to identify good friends as a good start.
Perfect. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and we're here with Dr. Zimmerman, who's a co-principal investigator and senior director of policy and programs at the National Native Children's Trauma Center. We're going to come right back here and talk a little bit more, and I want to kind of ask a little bit about what happens sometimes to our young ones that check out maybe puberty time or 12 or 13 years old, it seems like they really get maybe in touch with their feelings and of their trauma and things like that. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that when we come back.
Okay, sounds great.
Right. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Be a vaccinative. It's time to come together and talk about the urgent need to stay up to date on COVID-19 vaccinations to protect our heritage, our loved ones, and our future. Throughout history, we have always faced challenges, and today we must protect our culture and loved ones. This is our opportunity to ensure that our tribal gatherings once again resound with joy and celebration, where the echoes of our ancestors guide our steps. It's a chance to care for our elders, cherishing their wisdom and stories for generations to come. COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. Let us unite, resilient as ever, and show the world the strength of the Native American community. Together, we shape a future where our traditions thrive, our children learn from our ancestors, and our people flourish once more. So be a vaccinative and learn more about staying up to date with your COVID vaccinations at health.state.mn. That's health.state.mn.us. This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count. Hey, Robert, did you know that nearly 80% of brain growth happens in the first 1,000 days? And small moments of interaction like talking, playing, reading, and singing help create the pathways that build a child's brain during this early stage of life?
No, I didn't, but I just read that here too. That's awesome. Cool.
Yes, and you can find more information at littlemomentscount.org.
Hey, we're here with Dr. Zimmerman, who is a co-principal investigator and senior director of policy and programs at the National Native Children's Trauma Center. And we've been talking a lot about trauma, but I'd also kind of want to switch a little bit here, and maybe we can go into, because time is going so quick, I want to know how does positive childhood experience research contribute to the development of trauma-informed practices, especially within Indigenous communities? That's something that really sounds interesting.
Well, I might sound like I'm talking in circles, but let me begin. So we have known that our culture has played a role in our healing for centuries, right? And so I can remember talking with tribal leaders who would say to federal funders or state funders, why don't you let us do what we know to do to heal? And why won't you fund that? Why do we have to have these evidence-based treatment models that you guys always want to push on us that we don't identify with or that don't fit in our communities or with our people? So a big piece of the positive childhood experiences, in my opinion, this is just an opinion, can be those sorts of activities or experiences that we can create for our children and our youth. Everything from helping our children get their spirit name or their Indian name, the tribal name, teaching them the tribal ways of connecting to the spiritual world and how to pray for, even like learning how to smudge, if that's the cultural ways of your tribe, learning how to reach out to elders or spiritual leaders or cultural teachers in a respectful way. I believe that some of the young people that you were talking about before we went on break, those young adolescents, start to check out because they just don't know where to go. They just haven't had the guidance of where to go to ask for help, understanding their tribal history, making sure that you as a provider connect with the local schools, because connection to the schools is a big piece of feeling of a positive experiences for our kids. I like to think about so I am Nakota and Dakota, and I like to think about how thinking about contemporary coup stories, right? So what does that look like? How we mastered something, how we grew from, resilience is really bouncing back or adapting to adverse experiences and sometimes even growing from it. So helping the youth learn the impacts of trauma on their body, on their thinking and their feeling, helping them identify their triggers, and then helping them also learn coping skills and strategies so that when they become dysregulated and or they're impacted by a sight, a sound, a smell, physical contact, or a posturing of an adult, that they can go into mindfulness or breathing or meditation or step away and create and find ways to feel safe again.
Yeah, that sounds great. And what I hear over and over again, and during the show and also today, is like community, whether it's our elders, whether it's Take a Village, where a lot of people are brought up by their grandmas and aunties, and there's all those things that make us strong, but also are difficult too.
Yeah, exactly. And we do know the research shows that the decreasing the negative experiences or the traumatic experiences is really helpful, but almost even more important is the increasing the positive experiences. So the positive experiences test asks about 8 or 9 questions, and it asks people or adolescents or even children, before the age of 18, I was able to talk to a family member about my feelings, felt that my family stood by me during difficult times. I enjoyed participating in community traditions. I felt a sense of belonging in high school. I felt supported by friends. I had at least 2 non-parent adults who took a genuine interest in me, and I felt safe and protected by adults in my household. So you can see that the more of those positive experiences that a child can have, it can really go a long way in buffering the impacts of adverse experiences.
Yeah, and to remember those experiences too, because sometimes you get in that dark hole and you go, well, wait a minute, I have these friends that really listen to me and support me, even if maybe my parents don't or can't or unable to. That's important. And I'm just thinking back in my my childhood, because there was a lot of macho men stuff where you're not feeling that way, don't cry, and it's just like, I was one of those people that would do the opposite, because I felt like if I would cry, I would never stop.
Absolutely. And wherever, and we can find, it's just, again, relationship, really being connected with someone that cares about what you think, feel, and also creating a safe place for children, whether that's a school room or a playground or your grandma's house. Just knowing not just that they're physically safe, but psychologically safe.
Right. In my experience, too, as a former high school teacher, too, with these small communities and with having an all-native homeroom and things like that, if you're there and consistent, the walls will be broken down. Absolutely.
I think that's another, a key thing for people that are working with children, youth, or even adults, depending on what capacity you're working is to remember that that you are a safe and thoughtful, caring person, but that person the person that you're working with, that child or youth, doesn't know that. And so some of their behaviors can be off-putting, and some of their behaviors can be really challenging, but they don't know that, and they have to test that. They have to make sure that they're safe in your presence.
Right, and they do test, let me tell you. And
yes, they do.
I got to tell you a quick story, and I'm going to make it really quick. So I had a Native student who did my announcements and who was my go-to person, and she was very smart, and she was she was a good person and doing well. But kids were jealous of her too, and they thought that she was a favorite of mine, and I always said, well, she was a favorite of mine because she does the right thing. And the year after she graduated, we were at a powwow, a school powwow, and they said, hey, she's down there in the gym looking for you. And I said, well, I don't really care because you're my kids now. And she wasn't even in the building. They were just testing me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
they are good.
And they've since graduated, and I've been to their graduations and reminded them of that story. And all I got back was a big smile, like, yes, you caught us, or whatever, because it was funny. Because that's the way it is. It's like, being a teacher for 30 years, knowing that you have to meet people where they're at. And sometimes it's difficult to know where they're at.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, which is what we talked about in the earlier presentation of understanding what the function of the behavior is that's happening in front of you with that child, that youth, that student, that patient, that client, and really understanding that it may be based in trauma, and it's to not take it personally and to learn how to create safety in your presence.
We're winding down here, and I always feel really good about our conversation, and I'm sure our audience is really interested in but looking ahead, what are some of the key priorities in the future directions of this field of trauma-informed care?
I really do believe that the positive childhood experiences is going to gain a lot of traction, mostly because we can intervene in the life of a child or a youth with very, very, it's low cost, high impact just by developing strong relationships. I think that's going to be a big piece of the conversation, and really understanding the epigenetics of trauma is probably going to be something that we learn a lot more about, so that I know I think a lot about why my people struggle with diabetes or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease when they've never smoked, those sorts of things. I really do think that some of our chronic diseases in our tribal communities are directly related to the epigenetics of trauma.
Absolutely. And then we only got a little bit of time left here, but I want to leave us with that it's community, and we need to listen to everybody in our youth. And when they do say something, listen to them, right, Doctor? That's
right. They know what they're experiencing, and if you let them tell you the truth, they will.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I hopefully we can make this a every couple month thing, because this was too quick and too fun. I hope you appreciate us on here as much as we appreciate you, because this is amazing information that not only our Native communities should listen to, but all our listeners out there, because trauma is involved in everything, but we're really focusing on the great work that you're doing, and I really appreciate you being on, Dr. Zimmerman.
Okay, well, thank you so much for another invitation.
All right, cool. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio. Up next, Bob Blake from Red Lake. Oh, I like to say that. With the Solar Bear with the Solar News. You're listening to Native Roots Radio.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus over 30 extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
You work hard for every cent you make. You have bills and you have goals. Choose a bank that's going to support you along the way. That's Fair Financial Banking. No overdraft fees, no minimum balance. No credit score required. Call 651-262-2173 to talk to a Fair Financial enroller to open your account today. Keep more of your money. That's fair. Fairfinancial.org. FAIR is a program of Prepare Plus Prosper, a nonprofit organization, and is not a bank. Banking services are provided by Sunrise Banks N.A., member FDIC.
Are you remote workers putting your company at risk? Not sure what steps to take to secure your data? Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide with the 5 steps to securely work from home. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
Hi, this is Gina. Matthew, I will not read this next line.
I'll be your snookum-wookums.
Fine. My husband is the sexiest radio host in Minnesota, Matt McNeil.
Dang straight.
When it came time to replace my vehicle, I wanted an option that was safe for the environment. I wanted a hybrid. My RAV4 hybrid is a greener vehicle without sacrificing style and comfort. I love my Toyota hybrid.
Toyota hybrids are incredibly fuel efficient. Test drive one today at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
From chasing fall colors on a scenic road trip to epic hikes, fall festivals, apple orchards, or long hours on a patio, fall in Minnesota offers clear blue skies, an endless tapestry of color, and unmatched beauty, perfect for setting the stage for any colorful adventure. Plan your dream trip at exploreminnesota.com. Sponsored by Explore Minnesota, aired by the Minnesota Broadcasters Association and this station.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067, or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 60, Thursday sunny with a high near 80, and Friday sunny with a high near 77. Scott Jamamas offers huge taste out of a little place. They offer mouth-watering baby back ribs, grilled chicken, and half-pound pulled pork sandwiches. Located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road near the intersection of Nicollet Avenue and West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis. Find their menu and more at scottjamamas.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by NNCTC's Four Sisters Farmers Market, happening every Thursday on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis from 11 to 3. And if you're heading out there tomorrow for the pickle contest, which is happening from 12 to 1, come say hi to me and Robert. We are hoping to be out there as well, testing some of the pickles. Cannot wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. This is the second annual, and I remember the first annual, and I was not able to make it, and I was kind of butthurt, but I'm glad we have it on our radar now, and we're going to be able to go out there. Hey, we have Bob Blake from Red Lake, and I love saying that, and I also love having him on the show. And we usually talk about the Solar Bear with the Solar News, which is his company, and brings us some great updates and great talk about the future, really, because I know years ago we'd talk about things, and it's happening now. And but I want we have 2 segments with you, Bob, and I want to ask a couple personal questions, because I don't think we've had a This Is Your Life kind of segment with you in quite a few years, and it'd be great to have our new listeners And Haley wants to know, too, about you and your past. And I know last time we alluded about you working with Prince as a bodyguard and, things like that. So tell us a little bit about the young Bob Blake and how he's gotten to this point in his life.
So that was actually, Robert, my claim to fame, right? I was a body. I was one of the executive protection people for Prince. And, I started working downtown Minneapolis at a place called the Quest nightclub. It was actually Glam Slam at the time. And it was switching over to the Quest nightclub and was owned by a guy named Gilbert Davidson. And the interesting story on Gilbert was he was the guy who helped Prince negotiate the Purple Rain album, basically.
Wow. Okay.
And Prince gave Gilbert I think it was like a 1% Gilbert. If you're out there, anybody knows Gilbert, I'm sure Gilbert could tell you what the percentage was. But he got 1% of the royalties or something. And it was an astronomical amount of money. Yeah. And so, and Gilbert is just the best guy in the world. His brother-in-law, Joey Guzman, just was one of my best friends. And we just started working together. And one day, the Aaron Leapins, who is now head of security at the U.S. Bank Stadium, and another guy, Aaron, came up to me and said, "Hey, you want to come out and work you want to come run the front door at the studios for us from now on?" And, and I said, absolutely, because it's extra money, extra cash. And then there I was sitting out there at the front door. And then on another occasion, I was just out there, Earl Gabbardon. And if you ever see the video of Axl Rose, Guns N' Roses, Don't You Cry, there is an African-American gentleman following Axl Rose. Big guy. Mm-hmm. That's Earl. And Earl comes up to me and he says, "Bobby," he goes, "can you go to Miami?" And I thought, sure, a couple of weeks from now. And he said, "Okay, go home and go get your bag and meet us at the airport in 2 hours." And that was it. I was on the road for literally the next year or something. It was pretty incredible. And,
well, it's funny. I used to go to Glam Slam, the second floor, where all the VIPs were. And I would get in there and because I was doing media back then for Glam Slam and knew the guards and all that to let you in upstairs. And the funny thing about Prince was you'd be standing there and all of a sudden a group of people would be around and then he'd be at his table, like magic. It was he was surrounded by his bodyguards and boom, he was there magically. And I'm going, "Hey, I didn't even get a chance to talk to you. You're sitting at your seat and there's no way I'm going to talk to you now."
It was just a great time in my life, Robert. I got to travel the world. I got to see things that I never normally wouldn't do. I always tell people, if you get the opportunity and the chance to fly first class and stay in 5-star hotels, please do it, because it's a wonderful time. And I treasure that time in my life. And it was just a great opportunity. Funny thing that happened though, through all this is, obviously, I go back and I'm done working with Prince. I go back working at the club and everything for Gilbert and Joey. And, my mom comes down from Fort Totten with her friends, and they're down here for the Vikings game. And my mother is staying at the Normandy Inn with her friends. They get picked up by my brother in his squad car, because my brother's a police officer. So they get driven to this nightclub where they're taken through the VIP entrance, up the elevator, and they're given their own table with bottle service. And understand, these are women from the reservation. Never seen all these people in their life. They get the VIP service. The owner of the club, Gilbert, comes down over there, sits with them and talks to them. And, my mom is just immersed with all this hospitality. It's time to leave. They take off, and Bill comes back and picks them up with the squad car, front door service. and drops them back off at the hotel. These women for the next 15 years talk to my mom and tell that story all the time.
Hey, Bob, how we know each other is through your brother Bill, and I'd like you to just talk a little bit about Bill, the late great sergeant of the Minneapolis Police Department. And just when I remember him as a young kid, just a mellow, nicest person you'd ever want to meet. And, we miss him dearly. And I know you being the younger brother by quite a bit, you must miss him tremendously too.
Yeah, no, I mean, my father died when I was, when I was 9, when I was 9 years old. And, my mom was remarried. So Bill was actually assumed that father role with me.
Wow.
And so, and he and my brother Joe, and they were both in the Drum and Bugle Corps with you, Robert, with the St. Paul Scouts.
Yeah.
They really raised me. And I owe a lot to who I am today to those two guys. I mean, including my mother, of course, but without their guidance, I don't think I would be doing the things that I'm doing if it wasn't for them, and that's for sure. But Bill was just a wonderful guy, great guy. Received the Medal of Honor, Medal of Valor from the city of Minneapolis. Clyde Belcourt actually was the guy who put the medal around Bill's neck that time when he got the Medal of Valor.
Wow.
Yeah. And so Steve Blake, my cousin, was with him when Bill took on 2 shooters at Legends Bar in Northeast Minneapolis. Some guys came in to rob it, and Bill had a shootout with them in the middle of the bar during lunch. This is you can't write this. You can't write this. Every news station was talking about it. It was incredible. And Bill took him on, and so anyways. He got the Medal of Valor for that, and just a real highly decorated cop. Everybody, in the department, law enforcement, and throughout the state of Minnesota loved him. Just a great guy, and always wanted to do the right thing, and was very passionate about helping Native people in Native countries. So, we're to this day. His children, by the way, when he passed, he asked me. He says, "Bob, can you get the kids through college?" I'm happy to say to everybody right now that I got 3 of those kids through college. They got their bachelor degrees, and I am on the 4th one right now, Robert. So, it's so I will. I want to the day that I see my brother again. I want to say, "Hey, I got your kids. I got all 4 of your kids through college."
Yeah. Well, I remember we used to have Hennepin County Sheriff on the show, and when he realized who you were, he was just blown away because of the legend of your true legend that your brother was and is in the law enforcement community.
Oh yeah, I mean my brother, my brother took a lot of heat sometimes, because he advocated for BIPOC issues, so to speak, and he spoke up a lot about a lot of things that I think we saw transpired. And I think that, history now has proven my brother right in a lot of those situations now. And I don't want to belabor it or anything, but just he was always about doing the right thing. And, that's what he would always tell me. He said, "Bob," he said, always do the right thing, and everything else will work out. So, yeah, I'm extremely proud of him, and I'm proud of his kids and where they're going. And just the involvement that Bill and Steve, my cousin Steve, who was with Bill during that time when they had that shooting, all the work that they did in the Native community, and with Steve with the American Indian movement, just incredible. Right. So these were like my how do you say, like my guiding principle guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's amazing to be around individuals like that and hear them talk and hear them discuss certain issues. And, it's no wonder that I'm in this role now. I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing.
Well, I just got to say this the next 2 minutes, and next segment we'll talk about the Solar Bear with the Solar News, but is that our careers have kind of paralleled ever since I can't remember, was I the best boy or were you the best boy when we went down to Iowa and did the presidential forum? You want
to know something funny, Robert? All these all these like agencies like PBS and all these people that come up to film me and everything now, like I always tease them. I'm like, I'm a key grip. I did key grip work before for Robert Pilot and Native Roots Radio. Oh, and by the way, I was giving out your shirts to all the politicians.
Right. And I said,
you had no idea I was giving out all your shirts to all those politicians.
Well, one of them was holding it. We have a picture of Amy Klobuchar holding a Resist shirt, and I'm going, well, we're resisting her. How'd she get a shirt?
And there she is. And I'm like, Amy, get over here. Come take a picture with Robert Pilot. He wants to give you a shirt. You weren't even there. You come show up. What's going on? Robert, sit down. We're going to have a shirt. We're going to have a picture.
Yeah. And I'm still on the air.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was a good time.
That's hilarious.
All right. Well, that's a little bit of Bob Blake's history here. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about some solar news and the solar update. And maybe before we do that, Haley might have a question about who you are, too. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're here with Bob Blake from Red Lake.
Stay with us.
Stay with us.
Back to school season is here. And while this is an exciting time for parents, kids, and educators, let's not forget how far we've come in our battle against COVID-19. We're in a better place, but COVID-19 is still here, and we need to continue to help protect our communities. With the flurry of new schedules and classrooms, let's not overlook the fundamentals of staying safe. Wash your hands regularly and watch for any symptoms like fever, chills, a cough, or shortness of breath. Should you or someone you know have COVID-19 symptoms, stay home and get tested. Find more tips on continuing to be safe at health.state.mn.us. Let's have this back-to-school season be a time of renewed commitment to our collective health and brighter future for our Native communities. Again, find more tips on continuing to be safe at health.state.mn.us.
This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1 U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Well, Haley has been producing this show, and very well, Bob, for since May or June. It's been a long time, and doing a great job. And she doesn't know as much about how you and I know each other or what you are all about. And I'm going to give Haley a quick opportunity to ask you a question before we get into the solar news with the Solar Bear.
Well, Pina Gigi, thank you, Dega. Thanks, Bob. I've gotten to know you quite a bit on our Wednesdays, and, I really enjoy all of our conversations, but thanks for sharing all of that about you. I had no idea. I am a huge fan of Prince. So my question, I guess, all of the stories that I've heard about Prince, he is was a magician. I mean, the guy just completely completely would disappear from events, and people would try to get pictures with him. So, I mean, he must have had an extremely talented crew of bodyguards. I mean, because how did you guys do it? How did he escape all those events?
Well, I mean, when you're so like I would get the job to go advance a club, right, or advance, an arena, wherever he was performing, right. So I would be sent out to go advance, and so that's what we call it. You go scout the location out, right. And one of the things that you're looking for is you're looking for a second and third extraction point, or you're looking for a second and third escape route. Okay. And so you have your first, you have your second, you have your third. And so, each one of those areas, you want to be able to, so if one area is blocked or one area is, you can't get him out of there, you want to go to the second part and, or third. And you want the guy that's with him, who was usually Aaron at the time, let him know exactly which way to take him. You know what I mean? And so, that's really how we did it. And we used a lot of, let's see, Mr. Kroskovsky from Russia is in room 281. Well, that was Prince. Prince was in room 281, but his alias was Ivan Kruskovsky. You know what I mean? Sure. We always had like these cool names that we would use for these different areas, because see, everything went through me. So I would order his food. He would like say, hey, go pick up the clothes, or whatever. They'd go shopping. I mean, and they would go shopping for like, $30,000 jackets, or it was ridiculous. Like I could buy like 1 million jackets with the price they're paying for these things.
Exactly.
But and I was picking up, and I'm here to pick up, Mr. Suarez is, you really would just switch these names around. So, it's always things like that we would do. Right. And then we'd always like, try to have it moving too. So like, say if we started at one angle of the store and say he wanted to walk through the other angle of the store, we'd say, well, pick up on the other side of the, area so he can just walk out. You know what I mean? And he would always give us like float. We'd call it float money. So float, and that float, we would end up tipping with. So, bag handlers always got 50, hotel bellhops always got 100, and his direct thing, what he said is, he goes, I want you to make sure that you tip the individuals that need to be tipped properly. And so, and the word that came down from me from the other guy was, Bob, don't worry about over tipping. That's what he wants, So, unfortunately, I picked up those bad habits, and I still have a bad habit of over tipping to this day, even though I don't have Prince money.
Exactly.
Right.
But it surely was like those kinds of things where, like, we and we would just do that all the time. And incidentally, I had some really interesting limo drivers out there that I worked with that had some crazy stories.
I bet.
And what we would say, we were sitting outside of Spago, right, or something, in Beverly Hills, right? Mm-hmm. Prince would be in there eating, with his wife, and the other bodyguard would be with him. I would order us Domino's. I'd have Domino's delivered with like Cokes, and we would sit out, and I'd sit out there with my limo drivers, and other limo drivers that were driving other celebrities would come over, and they'd be like, "Hey, can I buy a slice of pizza from you? You can just have a slice of pizza. We'll order 2 more." You know what I mean? And it was so funny because I had all the limo guys sitting out in front of Spago one night, eating like these 4 pizzas, and they were just all telling us who they were driving, and we were all just talking. But it was a really good time, though.
It reminds me of that song from, what was his name? Won't you stay just a little bit longer? That old Brody song? Yeah, that Jackson Browne.
Right. Now, Jackson Browne that's Winona's buddy. Jackson Browne is Winona's buddy, yeah. And we went to the concert. She took us to the concert last year.
I was there.
Yeah, Robert, you were there. Exactly. Right. There you go.
James
I
Taylor.
Over, and there's Robert.
Yeah, lurking around with a James Taylor shirt.
Around. So, guys, I got some. I'll finish up here. I got some great statistics here from the solar news here, some solar data right here, and I just want to rattle off some metrics here. People that are currently employed by the solar industry, 263,883 people across the United States. Oh. And this is growing every year. Mm-hmm. Today, over 5% of U.S. electricity comes from solar energy, almost 11 times its share a decade ago. So that's incredible. The number of solar businesses in the U.S. now are 10,000 plus. 10,000 plus solar businesses are across this country. The top corporate solar users are Meta, Amazon, Apple, Walmart, Microsoft, and get this, guys, Target and Cargill, 2 Minnesota companies.
Wow.
Kaiser, Anheuser-Busch, and Evance North America. There is 500 gigawatts of new solar capacity will be installed over the next 10 years. Now, I want you guys to all think about this. Think about everything that's been installed to this time. This is 4 times greater than what has been installed up to date. So this means that there's 500 more gigawatts that are coming. So this is a lot of renewable energy and solar that's going to be installed. Carbon emissions reduce 175 million metric tons annually. That's equivalent to 39 million vehicles off the road, 20 billion gallons of gasoline that is not used, 2.8 billion trees planted, and that's the shuttering of 47 coal-fired plants. I mean, these are just amazing statistics. Yeah. And the price of solar has declined in the last 10 years by 43%. So, in a normal world, all the stuff gets more expensive, right? In this world that we're living in, the solar is actually getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper every year. So right. I just feel like this is just incredible statistics. Every 44 seconds, a new solar project is being installed across the United States. And the value of this market is $36 billion. Right. $36 billion. So these are just incredible stats, and you can find them all on the Solar Energy Industry Association's website. Please check it out. And everyone, that's the solar news with the Solar Bear.
Right on. Hey, Bob, can you stay on a little bit? I want to ask you something after the show, if you could hold on just for a minute or two, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right on. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance. From Chief Plenty Coops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, vote, do solar. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
And free Leonard Peltier now.